that project and drawing on the knowledge and experience of nurses from every region of the world. One message came through very strongly. Nursing cannot be described as a list of tasks. Nursing is a profession grounded in knowledge, ethical judgment, technical capability, and therapeutic relationships. Nurses protect safety, promote health, and support people through some of their most difficult and challenging and personal times in their lives. Nurses also lead services, manage health systems, influence policy, advocate for equitable access to care, and help build healthier and more sustainable communities. Recognizing this tremendous breadth and depth is important. If legislation defines nursing too narrowly, it can hold the profession in the past. It can limit innovation, create uncertainty about scope of practice, and prevent nurses from contributing everything they're educated and capable of providing. A strong definition does the opposite. It helps the public understand what nursing is. It supports protection of the title nurse. It provides a foundation for education, professional standards, and scope of practice. It also helps government and regulators plan for the future. Most importantly, though, the definition keeps people at the centre of what we do. Nursing is not defined only by where nurses work or the tasks they perform. It is defined by its purpose, its knowledge, its values, and its responsibility to humanity. As Seychelles reviews its legislation, there is a valuable opportunity to ensure that the law reflects nursing as it is today and allows the profession to become what the people of the Seychelles will need for tomorrow. Now, no written law can predict every change that nursing or healthcare will experience over the next 100 years, and nor should it. The goal must be to legislate in a way that is clear in its purpose, strong in its protections, and flexible enough to allow nursing to grow. This is particularly important for scope of practice. Nurses need clarity about their responsibilities and accountabilities, but scope cannot be reduced to a rigid list of permitted tasks. Safe practice depends on education, competence, experience, context, and above all, the needs of the people who are receiving care. The same forward-looking approach is needed for advanced nursing practice. As health needs become more complex, advanced practice nurses can provide expert care, strengthen clinical leadership, and improve access to services. Regulation should provide credible pathways for these roles, supported by advanced education, appropriate authorization, and genuine authority to practice. Same too, digital transformations will shape our next century. Secure digital registers can give the public better access to professional information and support workforce planning and mobility. New technologies, including AI, may assist care and decision-making. But technology may also cause some issues, and we must be mindful of the important role that professional judgment plays. Clinicians and nurses must ensure that they stay accountable and meet the safeguards for the public. Modern legislation does not need to name every technology or anticipate every future role. It needs to establish strong foundations from which safe change can occur. Seychelles now has the opportunity to build on 100 years of experience, preserving what has served the public well, while creating a space for nursing to meet the needs of the future. The strongest laws provide clarity without freezing a profession in time. The true value of regulation can be seen every day, in every moment when somebody places their trust in a nurse. It's present when a family knows that the nurse who's caring for their loved one is properly educated and qualified. It's present when a nurse makes a difficult decision guided by professional knowledge, ethical standards, and a responsibility to the person in front of them. And it's present when the nursing profession holds itself accountable to the communities they serve. This is the legacy Seychelles celebrates today. It's a legacy created not only through legislation, but through the work of generations of nurses, educators, regulators, and leaders. Each generation has inherited the profession, strengthened it, and passes it forward. The responsibility now is for us to pass this through to our next generation. The review of the Nurses and Midwives Act provides an opportunity to honour what has been built while ensuring that nursing regulation remains strong, relevant, and ready for the future. Education will continue to evolve, scope of practice will grow, new roles and technologies will emerge, but the central promise must remain the same: to protect the public, strengthen nursing, and enable nurses to meet the changing needs of the people we serve. On behalf of the International Council of Nurses, I warmly congratulate the Seychelles Nurses and Midwives Council, the nursing profession, and all those celebrating this remarkable century. 100 years of regulation is an extraordinary achievement. May the trust built over the past century become the foundation for an even stronger century ahead. Thank you again for allowing me to share with you this important celebration. My contact details are provided, and I'd be happy for people to reach out as needed if you want to continue this conversation. Once again, congratulations on a remarkable 100 years, and I wish you all the very best.
So we thank Dr. Gunn for this insightful message and presentation. And we equally thank the ICN for sharing those valuable insights. And I hope you've gathered enough from this presentation. And in fact, there were great emphasis on nursing as a profession. I mean, she really accentuated on nursing not being merely a list of duties, no? So it was just a well-regulated profession with ethical principles and legal values as well. Okay? So our next presenter rather, will be our former registrar, Mrs. Agricole. And as I did for Dr. Gunn, I will read a profile of Mrs. Agricole as well. Can I get your assistance, please? Okay, so Mrs. Agricole is a retired nurse, midwife, with a 50-year career in healthcare after joining Ministry of Health in 1975, the year I was born. She obtained advanced qualifications, including a Bachelor of Science from Australia and a Master of Science from South Africa, specializing in community eye health, intensive care, and curriculum development. Throughout her career, she held key leadership roles, serving as Assistant Director to the National Institute of Health and Social Studies, the Nurse Midwife Registrar, and the National Representative for Regional and Global Nursing Organizations. So Mrs. Agricole's presentation, she will take us through the history of nursing regulation in Seychelles. So Mrs. Agricole, the floor is yours.
So thank you, Mr. Zido. Good morning, colleagues, again. I am there to present the evolution of nursing regulation in Seychelles. and of course we are celebrating the 100 years anniversary, I would like to present certain disclaimer. These presentations will be a lot on my reflection when I was a nurse registrar and when I was a nurse. So I've been reflecting on quite a bit of professional issues that has gone on during my time as a nurse. Of course, very briefly, I will go over the nursing regulation, say a few lines about it, and the historical background of the nursing regulation, and most of my presentation will be on the nursing regulation in Seychelles from 1926 to 2024. Okay, so this tells you after 2024, I was no longer in service. Just to break the ice, I've illustrated these photos, which I managed to to get. I'm sorry it's about me, but just to see that when I joined nursing, and when most of us join nursing, we come in as a humble little nurse. We're doing clinical work, and at that time, you could see my instruments, which is completely different from now. And you can see the evolution. When I was appointed as the nurse registrar, I was sitting next to a computer, or a laptop, we call it, and doing, I can say, approaching the profession in a different manner, where I could where I was able to use my knowledge, my experience, to develop the nursing and midwifery profession that I have gathered as a humble nurse in practice. So we move on to more serious matters. Yes, I've got these few points which I have reflected on, not necessarily that you will find it in a dictionary as it stands. I find that nursing regulation is a powerful pillar in nursing, very powerful. And this is a pillar that exists worldwide nowadays, and it is given the legal authority to govern the profession. Of course, this is where most of its powers come from, with the legal background. But most of all, very important, it gives us the mandate to protect the public through safe nursing and midwifery care. It can transform the profession as well through its values, competence, and in the practice and in the education of the nursing and midwifery. It is a pillar also that leads the development in collaboration with other pillars in nursing. And at this point, we will see in the different slides that come through that nursing regulation in Seychelles has not been working alone. We have been working with all the pillars in nursing and all the council members that came in at different terms of office to be able to bring the profession to higher level and also better standard for quality care. We can see that if we look around in the region, nursing regulation is much valued, especially now that we have a lot of mobility in nursing. Nurses moving around the world. So there is a lot of contact and conversation between regulations from around the world and in the region. We can also note that in the Anglophone countries in the region, these regulations are more well-developed, more well-defined, whereas in the Francophone countries, they lag a little bit behind. They must call it the orders rather than an act to regulate the profession. And I can say that understanding nursing regulation is a good tool to promote leadership in nursing. Of course, we must not forget our predecessors. They struggled through many controversies to promote nursing regulation, because at the initial stage, this was a real debate between the leaders themselves. Some were in favor, some were not. Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing, thought that nursing regulation would not bring that compassionate care that is one of our main factor in promoting nursing care. So she was not in favor of nursing regulation. And you can see Mary Sickle looking very strong and forward thinking. She thought that nursing regulation would become more powerful given that we have a regulation in place. But finally, after the death of Florence Nightingale in 1919, the first act was born in England, in Great Britain, through the leadership of the Royal College of Nursing. And today we can say that many countries, regulation has brought a lot of power and has enhanced public trust and improved nursing education and practice. So there is more trust in the profession itself. So as we can see, we can also trust that nursing regulation will improve quality or looks into matters to improve quality of care through continuous improvement of nursing practice. So now let us look at nursing regulation in Seychelles. We have heard, I think, this morning and over again, maybe on the media, that nursing regulation in Seychelles started in 1926. And one of the first nurses that was registered was Mrs. Alfred Rowley. I would think that Mrs. Rowley was married to a British doctor who came to practice in Seychelles. So she has not used her maiden name, and she's using Alfred, you know. We don't have her maiden name in the book, but what we have is that, and what we know, that she was Mrs. Alfred Rowley. And this was a very good initiative, though in the initial stages, it was mainly to register nurses rather than doing the regulatory work. The laws and policies that were considered at this time for nurses was mainly from the colonial era, because at that time we were under the British colony. So by 1929, they had already worked on a nursing and midwifery ordinance, and this was the first piece of legislation. So this was assented by the governor of the land at that time. I speak of governor because for the young nurses, you may not be aware that we had governors at that time because we were under the British colony. But the presence of this ordinance, despite that, was oblivious to many of our nurses. Like I said, it was mainly to register the nurses rather than anything else. And once registered, they had to enter their names in the Seychelles registry, which was at the Supreme Court. So there was no register at all for nurses in the initial stage under the 1929 ordinance for nurses and midwives. But following that, the Nurses Registration Ordinance of 1950 and the Midwife's Ordinance of 1950 repealed the Ordinance of 1929, and they made provisions for having registers for nurses, whereby our nurses were registered in the registers kept by the board. Because apart from having register, they also had a board as the functioning arm of this ordinance. So I had 2 photos here. They are, as you can see, I got it from the archives just before everything fell apart. They're not looking that good, but at least we have evidence that they existed. So it's the Nurses and Midwives Ordinance of 1950, and the Midwives Ordinance of 1950. It's very difficult for you to read from it, I know, but I thought I would just point out. And these ordinances, like I've mentioned, function under 2 boards, one for nursing and one for midwifery. The composition of the board was mainly the chief medical officer, who was the chairperson all the time, the matron, the secretary, and the hospital administrator. At that time, the boards were sort of part and parcel of the administration of the hospital. So these 3 members of the board had the top position in the hospital administration, and they would meet on ad hoc basis only to register the names. As you can see, I have gathered 2 certificates, sample of ordinances. The first 1929 certificate was one certificate which states the diploma in medical and surgical nursing and in midwifery. I believe that during that time, apparently midwifery was a more practical training rather than an academic one. And further to that, when it was repealed, they replaced this certificate by sort of crossing out, certain things that were not applicable, and saying that this person was registered under the ordinance of 1929 simply. And you can see how much it was valued to give a proper certificate. And the signing was mainly by the chief medical officer and the matron. At one point, we had a matron called Matron Cahill, and she signed the certificate. And at the registry, it seems that the governor as well signed the certificate. As well as that, the 1950 ordinance had different parts to it. The different parts, one main differentiation as compared to our parts in our existing act, is that the male nurses were registered in a supplementary register. I don't know why. We can reflect on that. And there were different parts for sick children and mental disease. They call it mental disease rather than mental health. So the thinking maybe at that time was different from now. So it was the time that it occurred, probably. We have to respect it. But registration was automatic. Once you passed the exam, you did not have to apply. But once you gather your certificate or you collect your certificate from the matron who was the secretary, you had to pay 3 rupees. That's another sample of a registration certificate, but a specialized one. Certificate for nurses caring for patients suffering from tuberculosis. We all know that tuberculosis was rampant at one time in Seychelles, and they had a sanatorium also to nurse them. So these nurses were trained and registered which was good to care for these. And you can see that the logo looks like a cocoa de mer tree and a tortoise underneath. I don't know how this came in, but they no longer use the crest or whatever. And the others, they didn't have anything. So evolution is taking place still. And those two nurses, which I managed to get the photos, they are Mrs. Efa Janati, and that's my mother, the next one. And she was a nurse, so I followed sort of in her footpath. And they worked in the sanatorium hospital as well. And when my mother was qualified, it was 1949, so she was registered under the 1929 ordinance. And after that, when the ordinance came into implementation, the ordinance of 1950, she had to be re-registered under 1950 ordinance. And when the Nurses and Midwives Act 1985 came to place, Christine can remember she was asking me to bring all the certificates. So I brought the certificates, and she registered my mom as well under the 1985 Act. So you can see her long career as well as mine in the nursing profession. So with the enactment of the Nurses and Midwives Act, we moved into a new era. And you see the certificates improving, eh? Evolution again, very different. We have one for a nurse and one for midwife. And it brought in the composition of a council. A council which is the functioning arm of the existing council now, and it's the Nurses and Midwives Council. And they have members forming the council members. You are there, some of you, and many of you have been council members. And this is the highest nursing committee or organization you can be members of. So if you have been member of the council, you should be proud of yourself. You are governing and helping to bring the profession forward. It is a privilege and opportunity that you had. So you have been contributing all along, as you can see. There's something that you have done at your best when you were in the council also. So the initial regulation for the composition of the council did not allow nurses to vote or have a say in the members that were selected to be on the council. But after that, the nurses, again, the councillors were not happy about that, and the nurses felt that they should have a say. And this is when it was amended in 2004. Nurses started to vote. So when we have nursing action, we thank you, Miss sorry, showing me that. I see that my time is moving. Yes, I will be faster. And when you are selected to be on the council, or when you are voted to be in the council, it is a privilege. So, but when the act was initially, when it was formed, still we had to be sort of depending on the Ministry of Health, because we did not have a budget. So I will go through the timeline very quickly when we all started to structure the council a little bit. In 1985 to early 1988, there was no specific office for the council, and the council operated on ad hoc basis where we registered nurses and also deal with some professional irregularities. Whereas from 1988 to 2006, we had a full-time secretary who was a senior member of the Ministry of Health. She was appointed registrar, and this is no one then, Mrs. Margaret Michaud, who is here with us today. This office space was availed because Margaret thought that, oh, we have a law. Why can't we be seen in an office and functioning? We cannot move from here to there. So the office, after that, we availed it, and application processes were put in order, strengthened, we had applications for, and record keeping was improved, and we managed to get a grant from the Ministry of Health of 10,000 rupees for the function of the council. From 2006 to September 2007, unfortunately, the office remained vacant upon retirement of the registrar at that time, because a new registrar had not been appointed, and I came in 2007. As you can see, this is the first group of nurses that I registered, and there are some midwives as well. You can see that it is a bit informal in the manner of dressing for some. At the back, we have the council members at that time, and we have some midwives in their uniform because they had been qualified, whereas the new nurses had not been given uniform yet. And this is one of the earliest councillors during my time. And we started to work as we found that there are a lot of gaps to be filled, you know. We had a vision. And there, one of the great concern was to improve credibility for nursing. And we thought that with lifelong registration, this would not bring credibility and trust in the profession, as things were going more modern, people were getting more intelligent. So nurses got together, that is the 4 pillars of nursing, and we found that a resolution could be brought to initiate licensing or periodic registration. So finally, we decided that licensing would be best, since we have a small community of nurses in the Seychelles. It's a small country. Your name remains on the register, but at the same time, you have to do continuous professional development to renew your license every 3 years. And this brought in 2 new standards, which was the practicing standards and the CPD standards. Policies were written about that. If you look at this photo, you can see that the nurses also has evolved in the manner of dressing for their registration. And so with all these changes, we thought that there were many gaps in the Nurses and Midwives Act, and we need to revise the Act. So revision started under the collaboration of MOH and other 2 important regional organizations, the ARC and the World Health Organization. We had several meetings for capacity buildings, and we identified key regulatory elements to work on. A formal approval was sought from Cabinet, and this was approved in 2014 for us to revise the Act. We also sought the help of a consultant from WHO region, a nurse consultant. These are the nurses who were preparing for meetings and working on the revision of the Act. Okay, the Act has been revised. This the processes that we had to go through, and we had to publish a manuscript. As you can see, this is published in the African Journal of Nursing, and you can see for yourself when you go to this journal the processes that we had to go through, and you can see those main pillars of nursing representing the Nurses Association, the education, the Nursing Directorate, as well as regulation. So collaboration was there all the time. We also, an important landmark was the delinking of, from the Ministry of Health. And this helped us to receive an annual budget. We're moving away from the 10,000 rupees. So we had our annual budget, and we established a proper administrative structure. And we employed an administrative assistant, and we secured the position of the registrar as the nurse midwife. Like I say formally, it was any senior person in the health sector. So we had some administrative work to carry out. We also have collaboration from an organization called Friends of African Nurses, where we developed quite a number of standards for theater and preoperative nurses. And here they are. And several workshops were held. As you can see, The program covered settings of standards. And we had also job analysis workshop. Margaret is there. She was taking notes at that time. I called her in to do that because she was very good at that, I thought. So we had strategic planning workshop, which was led by one person who is there in the room, Mr. Morel. He decided to do that for us voluntarily. So these are the nurses who participated. We did not work only on Mahé, we worked on Pralin, we worked on La Digue, and of course the nurses were rewarded with certificates afterwards for their participation. We also had the Continuous Professional Development Framework, which is the CPD. We had to put this as a policy in place because we had it as a standard. And you can see Jill Ifleaf, who is from the Commonwealth of Nursing. She came in also as a consultant to help us to go through that process. All these nurses were there, and you can see many faces repeating, like Miss Sino, Lina, Miss Dankao, etc. This is the counselors in session at work. Mrs. Sevina, you can see yourself next to me here. That was a long time ago. And we have retired nurses also coming in, like Mrs. Gemma Babe, giving workshops to help us building capacity in the profession. And standard setting workshops where many participated from different units and wards. In 2020, we called it the Year of the Nurse. Yes, this was sort of seen by the WHO and ICN way back, but when it arrived, it was a surprise. I think a blessing in disguise in that it was the COVID-19 year also that was announced in Seychelles, and we could see our nurses in the forefront really depicting what they were doing, caring, being in the forefront, and taking care of our patients. So new policies were in place, and this, it happened also that we had just attended a conference where they were promoting CPD online. So we took the opportunity to link with them, and since there was lockdown, our nurses, it would be difficult for them to produce their CPDs, and we were able to gain a sponsorship from Commonwealth of Learning to have the CPD in place for nurses to have it online. So it was a blessing in disguise. And nurses have been in the forefront during the COVID-19 to make them visible as well. And at that time also we had so many foreign nurses coming in, 40 of them from Africa. And we were involved in registering these foreign trained nurses. Despite the fact that we were in the background, we had a lot of work to do during COVID-19. Maybe you don't see us on the field, but I was left alone in the secretariat because I had to spare my other colleague to help out on the field. These are the different pictures also, nurses in different situations where they were attending sessions, which would help them when they were newly qualified, like induction sessions, etc. But then I looked at the stages of the development using an ARC model, and this where we could see ourselves moving with the regulatory element. The pace was moving to get better, because we were not at stage 1, or we were not visible at all, in any of those regulatory elements. All the regulatory elements we were also taking part. We were also developing, like the nursing and midwifery legislation. We are on stage 2 because we need the approval of the cabinet for our reviewed act. Once this is done, we will move on to stage 3, and then the legislation will be assented. We can move on to stage 5. So there's 3 other stages for us to move through. And licensure process is in place, 3 to 4. Now we have to have it electronically, those digital age. The scope of practice, 4 to 5 is there. The continuing professional development, as you could see, we have a framework, and there are still some elements that we still have to fill in, some gaps, but we are moving forward. Accreditation of pre-service education also, we have to do some more work in that, but we are on stage 2. And professional misconduct, one of the stages that we got to stage 5. That was the highest mark. And this is the last term of office that I was in between 2022, 2024. This, as you can see, again, Mrs. Serena is still there, Lina is still there. There are others as well. In conclusion, I would say that the bill for 2026, I would call it the bill at this stage, Nurses and Midwives Act, which is reviewed, when legislated and implemented, will really strengthen and accelerate development in the profession. And the pillars holding the profession, namely socioeconomic, welfare, that's NAS, education, professional practice, and regulation, professed by ICN in 1995, should always continue this collaboration to position and transform the professions to the highest level in the 21st century, nationally and internationally. As you can see, we've been invited by the previous presenter to do a conversation when it's needed so that we know what is happening around the world and we can move forward. Special acknowledgement to those 3 persons. Mrs. Philoe has been the chairperson, I don't know how often, more than 4 times. So this is much appreciated. And Ms. Morel, she was the one to help me out when I was the only person in the council. And she would come in her spare time to do some tasks and also discuss issues that I needed to discuss with other persons. And Ms. Elsie Sino, of course, she was the first administrative person in the council once we were given the go-ahead to employ this person, and she really structured the secretariat as it is now. So I would say, from Mahatma Gandhi, to be the change you wish to see in the world. So it will all depend on each and every one of us, what we want to see. And I thank you for listening, and thank you all council members and all nurses who have contributed to put nurses to the level it is now. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mrs. Agricole. So you really took us throughout history. You presented a seemingly meticulously compiled retrospective outlook of the profession. And we also saw that throughout the years, the progressive enactment of the profession, it really culminated in what we are having today. And I'm very happy the male nurses are registered in the main register. And yeah, so anyway, it's good. So our next presenter will be our very own Registrar of Nursing Council, Mrs. Flavie Jubel. And I will present a small introduction to Mrs. Flavie Jubel career pathway. So a nurse and midwife by profession for the past 31 years. She's the current registrar of the Nurses and Midwives Council. Her appointment took effect on October 2024. Before her appointment as registrar, Mrs. Jubel dedicated 17 years of practice as a profession, as a nurse and midwife lecturer at NIHSS. She holds a bachelor's degree in midwifery with University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and a master's degree in midwifery and women's health with the University of Central Lancashire in UK. So please, will you care to join us for your presentation? Okay. Okay. All right. Good. I'll link it to your device. Good.
Good morning to you all. Thank you, Mr. Gidon, for this introduction. And thank you all. I can see a full room. Thank you all for accepting the invitation to be part of the council for this celebration. So my presentation will be based on the current situation, where we are now, and the importance of regulation. So when we look back at the presentation that Mrs. Agricole has shared with us, we see that nursing regulation in session has evolved. Will you agree with me? Yes. Okay, and today we've continued to have regulation, and it is progressing. As nursing evolves and midwifery evolves, so is the regulation as well. And actually, we do have the current act that we are still being implementing, and we look forward for a new act in the near future. So as you all know, so the Nurses and Midwives Act is implemented by an authority, and this is the council. So when we move on, we see that the council, actually, as we have explored that in the past, there was no council, and only 3 members from the government will come together and register the nurses. But since 1985, there is a structure, and actually there's the regulatory side of the council is that there's the council members made up of 13 of them, and the registrar is the secretary. And on the administrative part, which is the council secretariat, we have the registrar. We have seen that it has expanded from nobody to eventually somebody coming part-time and a full-time registrar only. And currently we have a registrar, assistant registrar, and a nurse midwife audit manager, and an admin officer. And currently we are in negotiation, discussion, working with DPA to create a post for a new staff, which will be an education and assessment officer. So we want to expand and to make the council more robust and to function as it should, to ensure that what is supposed to do is being done, and regulation of nursing is being maintained. So we see that the council is there, but what are the rules? So it is a statutory regulatory authority that is responsible to regulate nursing and midwifery education and the practice in the country, and with the mandate to protect the public by ensuring that every registered nurse and midwife is competent, ethical, and fit to practice. So this is the mandate of the council. And the council, for it to function, it needs power, okay? And the power entrusted to the council is to maintain the register, to register qualified nurses and midwives, to issue practice license, like Madame Agricola said, it has been introduced a while back, and establish standards of professional practice, investigate complaints that comes to the office, and approve nursing and midwifery education programs. Also, advise government on professional matters relating to nursing and midwifery, as well as conduct disciplinary proceedings in relation to complaints that comes to the council. And also, it promotes continuing professional competence. Okay, so with this, the council, as Madame Agricole said, when you are on the council, it is a great privilege. So as a member, these are the functions that, the powers that you hold as a member. So we've heard a lot about regulation. Why is it? Why do we need to regulate the profession? Why do we need to regulate nursing and midwifery profession? Maybe I would like to hear from you. The persistent no cause, so to make sure that you are not sleeping. Any input from you? No? You're so quiet, eh? Okay, so regulation matters to the public. Okay, if you will agree with me, it ensures that the public are receiving safe care. Okay, and they are being cared by professionals that are competent and ethical. Whereas to the profession itself, it gives you nurses, midwives, an identity. Okay, like you have seen that with your registration certificate, it gives you the title of a nurse. Okay, and nobody else can use this title. And it gives the public confidence that they are being cared by a professional, somebody who is trained, and not anybody is coming to care for them. And it gives recognition to the profession as well as career mobility. Okay, as nurses, you can move within the country in different profession as well, and as well as internationally, meaning that nurses from overseas or from foreign countries, they can register with us, or us, we can, with our registration, we can work in other countries. Whereas for the health system itself, it provides workforce quality. Okay, we are qualified nurses, competent midwives, so it gives quality to the work that you do, and ensure patient safety as well as accountability and quality improvement. So all of these makes regulation very important. And takeaway message is that professional regulation is not a barrier. Okay, it is an enabler of excellence. Okay, we should not fear regulation. It is there to enable excellence. Currently, regulatory framework that the Council regulates the profession. We have the Act. There's the Nurses and Midwife Regulation 1989 as well. Registration requirements, licensing procedures, code of ethics, scope of practice, professional standards, as well as a return to practice framework. As we move on, the Council, even though we have the Act and the regulations, we need a direction, a strategic direction. Okay, so recently we have just reviewed the strategic plan, and we are proudly in the process of implementing a strategic plan to 2025 to 2029. Okay, also previously we've seen Mr. Morel in the previous job analysis. Now he has helped us also with our current strategic plan. Can we give him a round of applause? Mr. Morel, thank you very much for your guidance. Okay, so the vision, the mission of our new strategic plan is to safeguard the public by regulating and advancing the nursing and midwifery education and practice, ensuring the highest level of care and professional excellence in accordance with the applicable Nurses and Midwives Act of Seychelles. Okay, and the vision, a visionary regulatory body that is more responsive to emerging health concerns. So previously we heard Michelle Gunn saying that we should not restrict nursing development. So this mission and vision allow us to expand. Okay, as you can see on our new banner, it is there as well. So the Council do function under values. We do have the core values, and there are 8 of them. Okay, integrity, trustworthiness, equity and fairness, respect, autonomy, honesty, impartiality, and accountability. I will not go into the detail to read about that, but it is in our strategic plan. And also the values is listed on the banner. So the goals, we have 5 strategic goals. So this one is to strengthen governance, independence and legal capacity, enhance regulatory oversight standards and professional development, number 2. And number 3 is to consolidate public trust, advocacy and stakeholder engagement. Fourthly, harness digital transformation, innovation and organizational excellence. And 5, strengthen global partnership and future resilience. So this shows that the Council is moving forward, okay, from where it was 1926 with the 1950 with the ordinance. So the Council wants to move forward for your benefit and for the public, safety of the public. So I will take you through some achievements. No, that this is there, but not, but this is not all. We do have a lot, and for example, there's updated competencies and standards for nursing and midwifery practices and specialized practices as well. So this has been ongoing and reviewed. And the license to practice was introduced in 2010, and it is well established, and as well as a new policy for license examination for nurses and midwives. So this will become will be implemented when with the as we look forward for the act, a new act, and there's engagement with nurses and midwives. Like previously, when there was only registration, you registered, your name is there, and you are left alone unless there's a complaint against you and you are called to strike off the list, the register. But there's engagement with nurses and midwives, like with reflective practice workshop, portfolio building. There's induction of newly local and foreign trained registered nurses and midwives. There's increase in staffing at the secretariat, and human capacity is increasing. Gradually, like Madame Agricole said, she started off being alone. Gradually, she received an assistant, and gradually we are improving. And we want the office to continue to grow. And as I've said, the strategic plan is a new one. Other achievements is that audit procedures, nurses and midwifery practice auditing has been introduced a while back, and it is more visible. The review of the current act was approved since 2014 and has since been under review, which has led it to a new proposal. And we wish that our ambition is to see that maybe next year, the latest, we have a new act. Okay, and capacity building, there's well-established collaboration with the international partners to offer online continuous education for nurses and midwives. And actually, we do have the WCA. How many of you know about WCA? Let's see a show of hands. Not? Very few of you. Okay, we need to, do you all know? Okay, so communication. There's initiation of digitization of the service to improve user experience and to share information. And online voting started in the last term, and we want to improve on that for the next term. Hopefully by towards the end of this year, we'll be starting voting for new council members, and it will be online. So I'm starting to tell you to start looking out for it, and we will be doing some campaign about that, and some sensitization when it is set up. And also for the infrastructure, Again, we learned from Madame Agricole that they did not have an office. Gradually, they have a small room, but now we are relocated to a larger and convenient office, so you can come pass by and visit us. So this is not the all, but there are other achievements that I will not go on. But we have challenges, okay? So current act is still does not reflect 21st century. Okay, even in last night the news, I heard Madame Belanderson saying that there's a need for this act to be reviewed, and this is something that is ongoing, and so that we can move forward. Oversight and professional development, so tracking of professional mobility of registered nurses and midwives is a challenge for us because nurses and midwives are spread all over the islands, or they move out of the country, and sometimes it is difficult to challenge to know their whereabouts, and this is something that we need to work on. Auditing also, as I said previously, it is being done, but it is not done to its full capacity because of resource constraint. We have only one audit manager, one person, and the council members are not necessarily available because they are all in employment, and to make sure that we do audit and ensure that nurses and midwives are compliant to their practice. Okay, so, and also, as I asked you about how many of you are aware about the WCA, CPD, and not all of you raised your hand. So this is a proof that there is a lack of awareness. We need to work on that so that nurses are, this is at your fingertips. Okay, and as well as governance and capacity issues. When we have new council members, we need to ensure that they get the competency that they need to discharge the function as a council member, and as well as the council member, the staff. We are all new. I'm barely 2 years old in this as a registrar, so I need to build my capacity as well as the other staff members. So to ensure that the council, the secretariat runs at its best. Yeah. Okay, so the vision for the future is we need a modern legislation. We need strong governance and competency-based regulation. We need to digitalize our system, registration system. We need to enhance continuing professional development and evidence-informed regulation. We need stronger collaboration with educational institutions, and as well as international recognition of Seychelles nurses and midwives. So as we look forward, we need to reaffirm our commitment to professional excellence, dear nurses and midwives. We need to commit ourselves to patient safety and ensure that we practice with ethically safe. We need to continue to learn, okay? We don't remain static, but we learn. Continue to improve our knowledge and skills and attitude. And we need to commit ourselves to stronger regulations as well as improve public trust. So protecting the public is not only the responsibility of the council, it is everybody's responsibility, the government, the leadership, educational excellence, the institutions, mentors, ethical practice, active professional engagement, as well as public confidence. So we need to work together to achieve that. So as we come to an end, so today we celebrate every nurse and midwife who has contributed to healthcare in Seychelles over the last century. Their legacy is our responsibility. So today we celebrate midwives, nurses, students, educators, regulators, leaders, and our pioneers. So the next century begins with whom? With us. So together, let us continue. So building the profession that every Seychellois can trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jubel, for this contemporary journey to the actual SNMC composition and approach to nursing profession. And it's quite different from the perspective that Mrs. Agricole presented. And one key aspect of that is the regulation, whereby Mrs. Nightingale was very adamant against regulation, and even she went to her grave with it. We saw that the Royal College of Nursing in England even had to wait 9 years. They had to be careful before they could put up an act for the nursing profession. So, without further ado, the next on our plan today is that we have reached a point whereby we will kind of have answers and questions and answers based on the 3 presentations, and other feel free to contribute or to ask questions based on other issues as well. Okay. So I believe the panel. You'll use the panel, no? Panel members. Okay, plenary session. Okay, good. So this session, it will give all participants the chance to ask questions, share ideas, and discuss future nursing and midwifery regulations. And as you see, the panel is composed of Mrs. Jubel, Mrs. Agricole, and Mrs. Filoy. So whenever you are ready, you can just... Sorry? So based on your interventions, I mean, we may have like 45 to 50 minutes of this session. Yeah. 15? It's quite short. Okay. 15. 15? Okay, so I've been instructed by the registrar that we have only, unfortunately, 15 minutes. So we have not 50, but 15. So, and we have to end at 12. So you can start with your questions and queries. Yeah.
N'importe.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for your very interesting presentations. We've seen where we've been and going forward where we wish to reach. So my question is, for the time being, we are doing registration for a nurse and or a midwife. So going forward, what is côté council pour like advocating for more to be able to register specialist nurses. Par exemple, il dit de présentation, when you register a nurse, pour sa profession, et pour le public, et pour le ministère de la Santé, et pour la profession aussi, sinon on a un petit peu plus de spécialistes qui me advocate for specialized nurses that they can be also be registered. Thank you.
Yeah. So anybody on the panel, please?
Okay, thank you for your questions. I think it's an opportunity to clarify. The Nurses and Midwives Act contains different parts of the register. There's a general part for nurses who have done general training in nursing. There are parts for nurses who have done mental health training. And there are parts for intensive care. And there are other parts as well. Any specialization which meets the requirement of the council can be registered as a specialized registration as a nurse specialist. So if you do any specialization, there are certain processes that you will have to go through because we will also see your competencies, very important, and acknowledge them, assess your other documents, verifications, and the council will then meet and decide whether you have met the requirement for that registration as a specialized nurse in the area that you have applied for. So there is possibility already for us to register specialized nurses. And maybe if you look the publications that we do every year, in the Gazette, you will see that there is a list for general nurses, there is a list for specialized nurses, and each time there is a list for pediatric nurses, trained pediatric nurses, intensive care, mental health, and other specialization, maybe it's not there because we don't have those nurses specialized in these areas, and if they are, they have not approached the council to request for registration. So we have to monitor you as well once you are registered, and you have to be accountable for the registration as a specialist nurse when you are in practice. So we monitor you as well.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, good.
That
was my follow-up question.
Yeah.
So, ou pa wa ki benefis si on pa konen peut-être council ils donnent a special certificate, I don't know, I don't remember. On peut baser un petit peu low more because I have masters in, I have a midwife as I'm a midwife with advanced practice, but I am considered only as a midwife. So, qui bénéfice, je ne sais pas si vous donner un certificat ou whatever, qui can advocate with the Ministry of Health, I don't know, Pour differentiate ça, haben différents certificats,
Vous connaissez,
spécialisation.
yeah, on comprend qu'on peut se demander. Vous peut scope of practice. Scope of practice pour différent. Comme un advanced trained midwife. What is your scope of practice? And if you want to be registered, you have to approach the council with your competencies. And if you want to be employed as a specialist midwife, you will have a different scope of practice. If we register you, because anyway, employment and registration will be separate. But if you register, you can go to the employment, to the Ministry of Health, with your certificate and scope of practice to see if they are employing you at that level, and these other employment processes will go on. And of course, the care that you will provide will be at a higher level within your scope of practice. It will not be as a general midwife. Mrs. Servina wants to add something?
But there are work going on to ensure that advanced nursing or midwifery practice will be taken care of in the future too.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Servina.
Good morning. My question will be on registration fee. Like Miss Boyson is saying, if you are being registered as a nurse, you pay your 300. If you are a nurse midwife, you have to pay 600. Now, if you are specialized in child development, child health, so specialization, do you need to register this? Thank you. Yes, question and comment.
Button Mora? Okay. So, yes, as long as you come with your different specialization, you attend a different part of the register. So, yes. So you need to pay your registration for different parts. Yes.
Ai, beti license, Lia, foi de vegetariação.
Okay. For your license to practice, you mean? Okay. Yes, we were taking for 2, but if you have more than 2, it was only considered for 2. So you mean that you pay 600. Okay.
At the same time, just to add, it depends where you are practicing, where you want your license for practice. You cannot practice in 2 different places or 3 different places at the same time. But maybe as a nurse midwife, yeah, you can be practicing nursing and midwifery. But if you want specialized for intensive care, you cannot be in pediatric nursing. Yes.
So I have to pay as a nurse?
Midwife.
As a midwife as well.
Yeah. As a nurse midwife, yes.
Morning all. Mon question c'est, après tout ça parcours que nous faisons aujourd'hui, nous pouvons célébrer 100 years. Mon peut se demander si council peut considérer pour bon expatriate nurses qui viennent, si pour capable de un written exam à cause que nous pouvons voir comme là, c'est les viennent avec ce document qui council review, après ils ont fait bon attachment dans la communauté, dans l'hôpital, et puis ils ont enregistré. Nous pouvons juste demander si ils ont considéré un written exam pour bon expatriate nurses.
Oui, merci pour la question. Dans nos actes, il déjà fait provision pour un assessment pour assistant le côté foreign qui peut venir pour faire si au niveau de l'éducation à nos niveaux. Sa provision pour un license exam, il déjà un procédure qui est initié par conseil. Tu fais training pour un bon groupe trainers, assessors, non? Et nous style de sa procédure, après aussi nos nouveaux actes, il publie clair encore là-dedans. So, assurer que le council peut préparer pour ça.
Et aussi en relation avec ça, par exemple, je explique aux autres que nous pouvons agrandir la capacité dans l'office. Il y a des gens qui nous peuvent envie gagner un poste et education and assessment officer. L'équipe est responsable, ça qui peut dire là, pour faire ci, qu'il y a un assessment. Pour anybody, pas juste expatriate, pas juste foreigners, mais nous disons local aussi tout, et pour capable passer de ça, si nous avons besoin, qu'il fasse une sortie pour le temps, plus que 4 ans, pas de practice, mais l'État pour envie retourner, et pour gagner accès, pour accès aux compétences, c'est fit pour les practice.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Evelyn. Moi, on a des questions, moi, je suis content de demander aux autres. Mon première question, si je entends bien Madame Michel Gans l'a causé, il fait référence qui est nouveau la loi. Il a mis dans le contexte et il y a une relevance aujourd'hui. Aujourd'hui, nous voyons qu'il y a une quantité d'habits parmi les nurses, mais qui nous nurses sont bonnes femmes sages, puis quand il est arrivé. Nous ne pouvons pas voir côté nous pour prendre recours, non. Hein? Qui m'ont demandé côté les autres pouvoirs, les autres, pendant ça pour 50 ans, from là, or shall I put it the next 10 years, pour adresser ou bien redresser sa bonne situation, qui sa bonne nurse peut faire face avec. Deuxièmement, aujourd'hui aussi, nous voyons beaucoup de training qui ont ongoing avec le ministère de la Santé, beaucoup de mamans peuvent faire bon online training. Nous voyons bon BSCs qui at one time to over 3 years. Là, nous voyons arrive 18 mois. Là, nous voyons même 9 mois. Est-ce qu'il y a certains gens qui verbalisent, qui y a certains autres sentis un peu frustrés, ou bien, je ne sais pas si c'est the right word to say. Mais qui stance council prend sa direction? Merci.
Ok, si vous pouvez répondre à la première question, merci. Quand il concerne l'habit, moi, c'est un petit peu pas là pour council, il pas dans son jurisdiction, du domaine, mais ça recours, c'est le côté de l'association. Encore là, quelquefois, servi à l'opportunité pour dire, faire la voix, l'association vient plus fort. Mon cas dit, last time, tu fais EGM, quand tu es là, combien c'est que Midwife qui t'atteint. Si vous ne pouvez pas venir pour mettre la force, pour faire la voix, vient plus fort. Quand tu n'as pas de recours. Il est important qu'ils soient dans le support, à cause l'association est pour nous, Nurse Midwife, et nous qui besoin de mettre la force ensemble, mettre la voix. Okay? Et deuxièmement, pour concernant ces affaires de training, qui nous voient pour dire sortir 2 ans, 3 ans, 2 ans, et already, ça bonne nurse qui peut faire ça, qui dit arrive 9 mois, il peut faire un top-up. Et nos systèmes qui nous conseillent, pour celles qui nous endorse, zot curriculum, zot se servi nous ban competencies qui council inset. Et l'état nous regarde ça ban competencies qui zot peut venir avec pour top up, il peut juste add up, peut juste pour donner zot ça degré. À cause comme il a pas besoin de faire degré 3 ans, donc diplôme qui nous a cessé, nous capable si nous considérer qu'arrive non un degré, c'est d'accord. Et aussi l'état nous regarde nous cause tout pour dire que nous pouvons evidence based, ok? Et evidence based, nous pouvons voir pour dire ou pas besoin pour faire un degré, pas besoin de sa quantité de temps. Un master, oui, mais à cause de faire un degré, est top up. Ok? C'est ça si nous développons nos systèmes ou bien l'opportunité, nous pouvons faire un degré à 4 years, par dans les autres pays fait. Mais pour le moment, nous pouvons faire un diplôme et ça dit ça nécessite top up pour un degré. Par contre, si on veut répondre à une question, si on a plus qu'à ajouter.
Un petit bout qui m'a imaginé, à cause, il y en a beaucoup d'universités qui reconnaissent prior learning, ça qui appelle prior learning. Ils reconnaissent une faire certains les autres training elsewhere or wherever. Ils ont les access à bon training pour reconnaître ça bon training and then decide how long your adapts for your degree will be. So, il y en a ça aussi. Pas toute l'université worldwide qui fait ça, mais il y en a qui fait. On peut donner l'exemple au moins. Là, moi, j'ai fait mon premier degré. Moi, j'ai fait 1.5 years. À cause de reconnaître mon prior learning and my experience as a nurse already. So they recognize that. Moi, j'ai besoin de submit document, définitivement, evidence, but it's going to recognize and it was a conversion course that I had to do.
Mon père, c'est ça, continue un petit gain là, côté mismo moi, cause petit labi, non? Normalement, là, dans le travail, si vous êtes take up any abusive behavior envers staff. Mais counseling là aussi pour donner counseling, professional counseling, qui si en cas, mon cas, pas besoin hésiter pour apporter conseil si vous avez besoin d'aide. In terms of counseling professionally.
Mon autre question regarding registration fee.
Something about the degrees and all that. You've got to understand that the council registers you. The council registers you at the minimum required for you to practice as a nurse. The council doesn't register you with a BSc or with a master's. These are qualifications. Until that the council moves into the advanced nurse practice, then they will come up with whatever is required for that. But council register you when you are safe to give nursing or midwifery practice. Don't confuse registration with qualifications. No, I don't want you to go into that. No, because I've got my position about this.
So, can I have one more question? Yeah.
Vraiment simple. Mon pays regarde local nurses nous payent 300 roupies pour registration. What about the expat nurses? Est-ce qu'ils payent registration fee? License.
Pour registration, par étranger, oui, ils ont un fee, ils ont payé, mais pour les licences, tous les 3 ans, ils ont même pareil. Pour étranger, c'est loi. Oui. Registration, they pay. On dit, attendez.
International train, foreign train.
Yes, I've said that expatriate, when they come to register, they pay a fee. Yeah. Seychelles va pas payer, ils payent ça, the license. Okay.
So, thank you very much for your insightful remarks and comments and questions. So we have now reached the end of. No, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Nous on a un website page
Okay.
I encourage all the nurses and midwives and public also to go and look at it. Please consult the SNMC website. You know, the act on it and the regulation. A lot of information are there. And also we have a Facebook page. It is current and ongoing.
And even before we end, may I reiterate on what has just been said with regards to the qualifications and with regards to the top-up degrees, because this forms very much part of my responsibility as well. And the thing is that it's not us, it's not the Seychelles Council, it's not us who decides on that. And it's something good for us because our local qualification as nurses, our local diploma is well recognized by different universities worldwide. Hence the fact that we can have the top-up degrees. Right now we are having one with Swansea University in England, and they've assessed our certificate. They did a mapping against theirs, and they found that 1 year is enough for a basic nursing degree. But nevertheless, if you're going to have a specialized degree in something else, maybe you would require some additional year. You see? But this is common practice nowadays. But the good thing is that our local diploma is being given value. Okay? So thank you very much once again. So now we will move to the closing remarks, and I will call upon Miss Angelique Samdi to deliver her closing remark.
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, members of the nursing and midwifery profession, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this historic forum, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you for your participation, engagement, and contribution to today's forum. This year marks a remarkable milestone of the centenary celebration of the first registered nurse in Seychelles. 100 years is more than a measure of time. It represents a century of dedication, professionalism, compassion, and service to the people of Seychelles. It is a moment to honor those who came before us, those who shaped our profession, and those who continue to uphold its values today. Throughout this forum, we have reflected on our past, examined our present, and looked towards our future. We witnessed the official launch of the modernized SNMC logo, a symbol that reflects our rich heritage while embracing innovation and progress. We also celebrated the official opening of the Centenary exhibition, which will continue on the 5th and 6th of August, providing an opportunity for the public and professionals alike to appreciate the remarkable journey of the nursing and midwifery regulation in Seychelles. We have gained valuable insights from international perspective on nursing regulations, reminding us that while healthcare challenges may differ across nations, our shared commitment to public protection, professional standards, and quality care remains universal. We have revisited the historical background and evolution of the nursing and midwifery regulation in Seychelles, recognizing the vision, leadership, and perseverance that have brought us to where we are today. We have also explored the current regulatory landscape and reaffirmed the importance of modern regulation in ensuring safe, competent, and ethical practice for the benefit of the public we serve. The plenary discussion have highlighted not only our achievements, but also the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. As healthcare continues to evolve, so too must our regulatory frameworks, ensuring that they remain responsive, relevant, and supportive of professional excellence. As we celebrate this centenary milestone, let us remember that we are not merely custodians of our proud legacy. We are also architects of the future. The decision we make today will influence the next generation of nurses and midwives and shape the future of healthcare in Seychelles. On behalf of the Seychelles Nurses and Midwives Council, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to our speakers, panelists, organizers, partners and participants whose dedication made this forum a success. May the spirit of this centenary celebration inspire us to continue strengthening our profession, advancing regulatory excellence, and serving our communities with integrity, compassion, and commitment. Thank you all for being part of this historic occasion, and I wish you continued success in your professional endeavors, and those that did not have the opportunity to see the exhibition, please do so before leaving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Samsi. I now declare the forum closed.
Anyway, sorry. Avant closure, nous avons un petit token of appréciation pour secrétariat staff. Ms. Flavie. Last moment. Nous pouvons dire Angélique, qui fait un travail très dur pour faire ça forum réalisé. Wavine devant. Adriana, puis devant, de Jennifer, et quand tu travailles, on pour nous réaliser ça. So, you only right qui nous donne un petit token of appreciation. Nous avons de ça faire ça même. Shamala, come forward. Après nous, les remercie des gens qui ont contribué en quantité pendant l'année, Madame Barbier, Madame Gemma Barbier, aujourd'hui, pas avec nous, aujourd'hui, mais c'est mon son basket là, nous avons envoyé un petit message. Après, Miss Farida André, qui est tout le temps là, dans le conseil, ici là, puis assister Madame Agricole dans la position depuis assistant registrar. Après, il vraiment, comment on dit, travail pour bonnes affaires, renewal of license. Après, il train bonne maman, il fait reflective practices every year. So, you see, panvini, mais c'est moi, I hope des meilleurs passés pour l'exhibition. So, je bouquet à rester là. Nous avons envoyé un petit message. So, merci encore pour sa grande turnout. Nous apprécions beaucoup. Et si vous n'avez aucune question encore pendant le temps que vous avez vu l'exhibition, il peut y avoir quelque chose qui peut guider vous, quelque chose pour demander. Bon document qui display, je peux demander une question là. Bon, dans l'acte, son page, côté on a une description, guidance, whatever, council members pour là. Après, nous merci aussi. Nous avons retired nurses qui nous pour set up l'exhibition. Il y en a Madame Marina Etel Elle en met pour lui. Il y en a Miss Wao. Il y en a Miss Camille, Marie-Jenny. Regarde, mon manque, non, là. Monette, Ernesta, Invini. Après, bonne qui n'a pas ce pour là encore. Il y en a Madame Marie-Claire Betsy. Il a, oh Lily. Oh Lily, oh Marie-Claire. So, sans autres. Allô. On peut là où ça t'a installé. So, nous comptons autres là. Mon quoi, nous travaillons, nous travaillons fort, nous excités aussi pour faire y arriver. C'est qui est important. So, encore, on a besoin en bas. Oui.
No, yeah. Before you leave, we encourage everyone to give a feedback through the evaluation form and to visit the exhibition if you have not yet had the opportunity. As you will exit, please grab a snack box outside in the lobby.
Obrigado.
Have a wonderful afternoon and thank you, everyone.